Today I'm going to talk about personal altars. So let's get started. Personal altars, we are used to seeing altars oftentimes in an organized religion in that context, or maybe in a temple, or maybe in another form of practice. So I'm not talking about that type of an altar, although they are very similar. We're talking about personal altars. And creating a personal altar is one of the best ways that I know to both expand and ground your spiritual practice. So just like in a church or a temple that has the altar as a centerpiece for a particular reason, particular practice, yours is similar to that, only your personal altar can be in your home, it can be in your garden, it can be in your car, it can be a spot or a place in nature that you like to hike or go to. It can also be in a pouch or a small box that you take with you when you travel, right? So your personal altar is exactly that. It's personal. It can be created in many different places and in many different ways. So, the thing that's common about it is that it is a designated sacred place that you're creating. And it can be, as I said, on a table, on the corner of a counter, in a room in your house. It can be on a shelf, or as I said, it could be traveling with you, maybe even in a shoebox, whatever it is. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So your personal altar doesn't have to have a grand dedicated room. It doesn't have to have its own space, except for a small space that you give it as devotional space, and you use that space only for that purpose. So let me give you an example. Behind me, you can see there's an altar here in my studio. That for me is what I consider to be my working altar. When I'm doing work for my clients, whether I'm in their soul record or I'm working on my end of maybe some coaching material, if I'm doing oracle card guidance pulls for information for a client, I'm usually working at a working altar. It's a place where I'm able to more easily and quickly connect with their spirit, with their spirit guides, and for my guides for guidance for them, right? That's different than the altar that I have created in my bedroom on a corner of my dresser, which is pretty minimal. I've got 3 objects there, usually a candle. I have a small object that I use to infuse my intentions, and just a cloth underneath there to designate the space. So in this case, I used fabric to designate a little corner of space on my bedroom dresser for my altar. That one doesn't change that much. I have things that are important to me, that have been significant for me probably for as long as I can remember, right? So there's things from childhood there. There are particular items from special moments, and it doesn't really change up all that much. It almost acts as a representation of my journey, and it's a place and a space that I use to be able to connect with Source and my higher self, right? So you can have a variety. You can have a variety of personal altars throughout your home or your garden or your space. Now, as I alluded to just a minute ago, the garden can have different areas in it that work for you. Your home can have it. You can have something that travels. You can even go someplace else, like to the beach or hiking in the woods, and then maybe create something literally from sticks and stones there, or just your presence. But, altars can have a season or a reason, or they can be permanent, right? So you might have a temporary altar that you create for a very specific purpose. Maybe it's related to a person, or a very specific reason that you want to have a high vibrational devotional space, right, to work with you. Then you can have a more permanent altar, something where you have a selection of objects and it stays as it was created and it's used for a particular purpose, doesn't really change all that much, isn't deconstructed at the end. There's also seasonal altars. This is why lots of people like to work in their garden, because the seasons are naturally change and the environment changes. The way that I work with seasonal altars, in other words, I'm calling in the energy of the season to help me with something specific. Like right now, it's winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So it's a time to rest and go inward and, begin to tap on your reserves in order to be able to conduct yourself. And then, spring's going to come and we're going to start to bloom and blossom and share what it is that we've been holding inward. So for winter, you might, on the inside, you might be referencing winter in a variety of different ways. Outside, it's automatically referenced because you have it outside, right? So that's what I mean by seasonal altars that change with the seasons. So wherever the altar is, whatever place you decide to place it, altars are generally, they have a purpose, right? So they're used in a way that is very specific for you. It can be as a devotional practice. Your personal altar can be a spot for devotional practice. One of the very first personal altars that I ever saw as a child was in friends of my parents were Italian, and they had a table, small round table, in a corner of their house. And on that table was a candle, one of those big tall candles, that have a picture of a saint or the Virgin Mary or someone on it. And it was like an eternal flame. They always had that candle going. And then their rosary beads were deposited and resting there. They might have had a picture. There was prayer book open. There were fresh flowers, and this was my first real introduction into a personal altar space, which was a continuation from their Catholic practice, but it was personal to them and it was in their home. So they didn't always have to go to church, to be able to have their devotional space. So that was kind of an awakening for me. And I thought, where else does that apply? Then you start to notice in nature, for example, on hikes, there's stones that are erected in a certain way, that go up, that are mimicking the idea of the raising of a vibration and reaching, source or the heavens or a God, but it's used with natural materials. You might see drawings in the dirt. You might see things that are arranged in certain ways in terms of leaves and sticks and berries, right? So I started to notice personal altars and began to create them on my own. And usually it started in my bedroom on a corner of my dresser, and I still have one in my bedroom on the corner of the dresser. In fact, I have two. So it's for devotional practice. It can be used for divination, where you are trying to seek and see guidance and information for yourself, to be able to gather information for yourself through the practice of divination. It can be something as simple as a place to set your intention, what you want for yourself or for someone else, or for the world, right? So it could be a place where you set your intention. Your personal altar is a great place to focus yourself for a few minutes a day on what it is that you're trying to accomplish or manifest or do, right? With the intention for your altar. It's a great place to do journeying, right? You could also journal there too, but it's a great place to also do journeying. So it is the place to attune to Kairos time. That's the absence of chronological time and tapping into the existence of the spiritual realm, which does not operate on linear chronological time dates, anything like that, right? It's like one big happening, right? So it's a very interesting place, but this is a space where you can attune and tap into it more easily than if you're running around on your regular day. It's also a wonderful way to connect with your angels and spirit guides for guidance. It's a great place for prayer if you like to do regular praying. It's a great place for meditation. It has a natural sense of peace and calm. It's a place for you to lay down all of your worries and concerns so that your angels and spirit guides can cleanse them, create resolution and help you with them, be able to support you in some way, right? A personal altar can serve as a memorial to people who you love deeply. It can serve as a memorial to your inner child. It can serve as a memorial to the great love of your life. It can serve as a memorial for anything that you want to honor from memory, right? That's what memorial is, right? Memory. So I love the way that it can support you with resolution. Let me give you an example. If you're seeking guidance or you're looking for resolution to something, could be a situation, it could be a problem in a relationship, it could be something that you're trying to manifest that you would like to have in your life that you just aren't quite getting. It can be a personal problem, that's with yourself. And it's in this place where you set the intention and you can ask for assistance and support, and your willingness and your intention is to accept the support that is coming for you, because it's coming from a very high vibrational place. Includes your higher self. It includes your angels and spirit guides. It includes the connection to source, the universe, the all, the God, however you want to describe it, right? It works as long as it's working for you. All right. So pick a word, pick an idea, pick a concept, pick a belief, and go with it. Don't worry about whether or not, this is the right way. It is the right way for you. So, this is a place where you can deposit your concern. And oftentimes when you will come back to revisit, you will find that in that time, things have changed. A resolution has been experienced or observed, or while you're in front of your personal altar, the resolution will be somehow it feels like it's magic, just download. You have an aha moment, an awareness, a perspective that's different or changed. You might have an idea that you didn't have before. You'll come up with the solution, right? And none of that is coincidence, right? So this will happen for you when you are connected in this realm, right? The spiritual realm, and it more easily happens at a place like this that you create that is, I call it sacred space. So it also can simply be a place of peace and calm. That's why lots of people create their personal sacred space in their gardens or near water or something, that whatever has a calming effect for them. You can recreate that and create it as personal space. You can also bring that into your own home, right? So the kinds of objects that you can include vary. We just, those of us that practice the commercial version of Christmas or the religious version of Christmas, or a form of winter solstice where we're working with the Christmas tree. So, sometimes that is just a decoration in a home, but sometimes becomes a personal altar for the season and for the reason, right? So there's an example that has been commercialized, but it didn't start out that way. It started out very personal. So I'm in California. Someone just asked me, hey, Alex, hi, I'm in California. So the objects to include, the kinds of objects that you can include on your personal altar are very personal to you, right? So in my coaching practice, I often recommend for my clients to start a personal altar so that they can get in touch first with their own spirit and then later be able to directly work with spirit guides as they're being able to create, something that they really love for themselves. So objects to include anything that's important to you. Anything that raises your vibration, okay? You do not want to drop your bitch list off at the personal altar, okay? it's not really the purpose for the personal altar. All right, that's really just a complaint and that needs to go on paper and then get burnt, right? So keep it high vibrational, high vibrational. The object may already have a high vibrational energy. For example, I am talking about, for example, like if you have rosary beads or you have crystals or you have jewelry that you have been wearing. Maybe you have jewelry that somebody else that you love has been wearing. They could be rocks from a particular home that you used to live in that are traveling with you. Something like this, you know, so you can include objects like that that are personal, that already have an energy with them. You don't need to clear the energy. Or you can bring objects in that mean something to you. Like, for example, I always have candles because I really love that kind of light and fire. There's incense there, crystals. You can include photos of devotional figures, photos of people that are inspirational to you, photos of people that you love, a photo of a place. It could be a photo of a sculpture or a painting. It could be an object if you'd like to do photos. It can be words or writings that you can include and lay there on your personal altar. It can be something like your favorite poem ripped out of a book or handwritten. It can include natural things, rocks, flowers, branches. I often include a bowl of water. You could also, because it's winter, include a bowl of snow. Something like this would be great. And you can, excuse me, I have to move. My Insta's not working, so I'm going to end it. All right. So let me continue. Insta, I'm having a problem with Insta, so I had to end that one. Okay. So let me just also go through and talk about personal altars as a place where the veil thins. Okay, the veil thins out. And what I mean by that is that we're in our reality here, which is, you know, three-dimensional space, in linear time and chronological time. We move more slowly than that which moves in the spirit realm. It's in order to communicate. I have found, at least when I'm practicing with when I'm working with spirit guides, and when I'm working even in the Akashic Records doing soul work, the guidance comes down sometimes so fast and so quickly that it's almost difficult to comprehend, right? So what happens is the spiritual realm has to kind of slow down, and I have to speed up. And I find that in the place of a personal altar, there's sacred space there, and it's just the right amount of change so that we can connect and communicate really easily, more easily, shall we say, more easily. So that's one of the great reasons that I have one, is it just makes my work easy. So you say I have one here in my studio. I also create them as I am working for different things for myself personally. And it's a dedicated place I can go to. I make the time to visit it. I make the time to work there, and I'm able to accomplish a lot and very quickly. I manifest much more quickly when I'm working with personal altars. So if you have not tried it, big or small, reason or season, right, you can try this for yourself and see how it works, okay?